Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. Tropical storm Debbie making its second landfall in the U.S. early this morning. Debbie has dumped more than a foot of rain over parts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina this week. Our Spectrum meteorologists say flooding is expected across parts of the Carolinas for the next couple of days. 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna, Austria have been canceled after an alleged terror plot was discovered. Police say they've arrested 2 men in connection with the possible attack. Authorities believe the men were radicalized online by ISIS. Vice President Kamala Harris and her newly appointed running mate Tim Walz are on their tour through key battleground states. The pair holding rallies in Michigan and Wisconsin yesterday. Protesters at Harris's rally outside Detroit briefly interrupted the event.
You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Meanwhile, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance held his own rally in Michigan.
Call me weird. Look, I've got my wife here. I've got 3 beautiful kids at home. I'm a normal guy who wants to live the American dream and wants all of you and your kids to be able to live the American dream. That's why I'm in it. If those people want to call me weird, I think it's a badge of honor.
Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. Tropical storm Debbie made its second landfall at 2 a.m. just to the north of Charleston and Bulls Bay, South Carolina. And this system is going to continue to bring widespread rain, and it's going to continue to weaken as well. But the flash flood threat is be the major concern. Take a look at the flash flood alert stretching from the Carolinas all the way up into upstate New York. And those are going to be in effect through Friday and perhaps into Saturday as well. And coming up in 10 minutes, I'm going to be talking about Debbie's latest track and how much more additional rainfall we can expect.
Debbie making landfall once again, this time in South. For joining us here on Spectrum News, I'm Bree Driscoll. Days after the storm made landfall in Florida, the former hurricane making landfall overnight as a tropical storm about 20 miles northeast of Charleston. Debbie is expected to keep moving inland, bringing heavy rains all the way up the East Coast. Residents up in New England could see several inches of rain through Saturday. Since crashing into Florida as a Category 1 hurricane on Monday, Debbie has dumped more than a foot of rain over parts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina and has killed at least 6 people. Spectrum meteorologist Ramel Carpenter joins us now. Ramel, Debbie isn't done yet.
Not at all. I made a second landfall just after 2 o'clock this morning, just to the north of Charleston and Bulls Bay, South Carolina. And it's going to be bringing a lot more rainfall across North and South Carolina and eventually up into Virginia over the course of the day today. So the track is going to continue to work its way up to the north, and it is moving very slow, right around 5 miles per hour, but it is going to be picking up speed and weakening significantly. As winds drop from 50 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour in about 24 hours or so, but it's still going to be bringing a lot of rainfall across the mid-Atlantic and across the Carolinas throughout the day today. So we have that high risk for flooding stretching from the central North Carolina up towards western Virginia. And that's going to carry over into the mid-Atlantic as we transition into our Friday. And as we get going throughout the rest of the day today, we have tornado watches in effect until 1 o'clock. So make sure you've got multiple ways of receiving severe weather alerts. And if you've got family and friends in this area, make sure you alert them as well and go on them from time to time.
All right, meteorologist Ramel Carpenter, thank you very much. We're learning new information about a concert terror plot targeting one of the biggest names in music. 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Austria were canceled after investigators foiled an alleged attack. 2 people are now under arrest. Our Jenna Enoch has the latest.
An alleged terror plot abruptly ending one of the last European Eras tour. Authorities arrested 2 suspects they believe were planning to attack 3 concerts in the Austria capital of Vienna this weekend. Investigators say the suspects pledged an oath of allegiance to ISIS and believe both men were radicalized on the internet. They also found chemicals inside one of the suspects' homes.
All you need is one suicide bomber with one of these vests, and the detonators are very easy to make at home, and the chemicals are easy to boil. And that's probably what they're looking at. This won't be the first concert attack. There was Manchester 2017, there was Paris 2015, and this year there was Moscow. These are symbolic targets for the Islamic State. And as tension rises in the Middle East, I think we're going to see more of this.
The concerts were set to kick off Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Ernst Happel Stadium in Vienna. After her Austria tour, Swift is scheduled to perform in London and then on to Canada. But since acting, one X user said, quote, "The world is such vile evil. Thank goodness they stopped the whole plot in time," end quote. Another said, quote, "I'm devastated at what's happening in the world right now. Planned terrorism attacks at Taylor Swift concerts. The Eras Tour was meant to be our safe space," end quote.
Ultimately, Taylor Swift is well protected. Getting to her would be very difficult, but disrupting one of these concerts would be enough.
All ticket holders for the Vienna shows will receive automatic refunds. Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Vice President Kamala Harris with her newly named running mate Tim Walz and Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance holding dueling events in Wisconsin and Michigan yesterday, underscoring the importance of those swing states in the presidential race. Our national reporter Evan Kozlov has more from Washington.
United States, Kamala Harris.
This was the second stop of the day for Vice President Kamala Harris, speaking in front of a roaring crowd of thousands of people in Detroit, Michigan.
It is about two very different visions for the future of our nation. One, ours, focused on the future, and the other, focused on the past.
Harris and her new running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, have been crisscrossing battleground states, holding a kickoff rally in Philadelphia on Tuesday and Wisconsin on Wednesday afternoon. They'll now be heading to Phoenix on Friday and Las Vegas on Saturday.
Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She's a fake.
Meanwhile, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, was looking to create some counter-programming, holding campaign events in Michigan and then in Wisconsin, where he held an event within minutes of Harris in the same city.
I just wanted to check out my future plane.
Vance even wore his plane on the Wisconsin runway. Trump's running mate blasting Harris on the economy and the border.
She has been the border czar for 3.5 years, and Americans have suffered because of it.
I can't wait to debate this guy.
Democrats are hopeful that the selection of Governor Walz has the potential to shake up the race. The two-term governor of a Midwest state was a small-town teacher and a football coach before he turned to politics.
These ideas that they're putting out there, they are weird as hell. No one's asking for it.
Tim Walz will be a rubber stamp for Kamala's dangerously liberal agenda.
But already the nods are out. The Trump campaign releasing this campaign ad on Wednesday, casting him as too liberal.
Now, former President Trump was not on the campaign trail on Wednesday, but he did call into a Fox News program, blasting both Harris and Walz as dangerously liberal. Meanwhile, the Harris campaign said it raised $36 million in just the first 24 hours since the vice president announcement. In Washington, I'm Evan Kozlov.
Spectrum's national reporter Angie Gonzalez joins us now with more on the race for the White House. Angie, Harris has enjoyed a honeymoon period since announcing her candidacy. Are there any signs this could be ending?
Well, Bree, during this tour that she's on with her running mate through key battleground states, the duo is, of course, flanked by other Democrats who've offered their support of the ticket. But during an event in Detroit, Michigan yesterday, a group of protesters briefly interrupted Harris's speech, chanting a pro-Palestinian message. Now, those protesters were quickly countered by the majority of the crowd, who drowned them out with their own chants. And then this is how Harris responded.
I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now.
Now, Bree, she also fired back that, quote, "If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that." Cheers from the crowd, much like you heard there just a moment ago, and the protesters were escorted out of the venue. Bree, whether or not this means that the honeymoon is actually over remains to be seen, but they are still enjoying plenty of support in terms of fundraising. According to the campaign, the Harris-Walz ticket has raised $36 million in just the first 24 hours since the governor was announced as her running mate. Bree?
And thank you very much. Coming up on Spectrum News, a new Exploring Your Health report, Curing Our Classrooms. Our Aaron Billups takes us for an in-depth look at the health of classrooms in schools across the country.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place packed on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to delivering reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. Numerous storm reports over the last 48 hours, mostly across North and South Carolina, where reports of rainfall have been anywhere between 6 to 12 inches, all from Tropical Storm Debbie. On top of that as well, in southeastern North Carolina, we have seen reports of 2 to 3 feet of standing water in the town of Bladenboro. They had to put barricades around the town to prevent people from driving in. So definitely heed those warnings. Turn around, don't drown. You never want to travel through any flooded roadways. And on top of the flood threat, we're dealing with quick spin up tornadoes. 3 reports of tornadoes across eastern North Carolina, and even reports of damage from homes and even a middle school outside of the Wilson, North Carolina area. So we're still dealing with Debbie as it continues to move very slowly, pumping in that moisture into the mid-Atlantic over the next 24 hours across the Tar Heel State throughout the day today. So latest track from Tropical Storm Debbie is going to continue to work this way up to the north and east, moving slow for now, but it is expected to pick up speed and weaken significantly into a tropical depression and eventually into a post-tropical cyclone as it works its way up into the far eastern portions of Canada. So the risk for severe thunderstorms will be found for eastern Virginia into eastern North Carolina. Main concerns will be damaging wind gusts, but of course those quick spin up tornadoes like we have been dealing with so far this morning, always a possibility. And tornado watches are in place for southeastern Virginia and the eastern half of North Carolina until 1 o'clock later this afternoon. So make sure you've got multiple ways of receiving severe weather alerts. And on top of that, we're still dealing with the threat for flooding, high risk for central North Carolina up through Virginia. This includes the Raleigh area as well as Roanoke, Virginia as well. So as we get into the rest of the day today, a lot of that moisture is going to work its way further inland through Virginia and as far west as Charlotte, where your rainfall totals could exceed 4 to maybe even half a foot. The system will eventually track into the northeast, bringing the threat for flooding and quick spin up tornadoes across that part of the country. I'll have more details on that coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones.
Well, if you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Tropical Storm Debbie made its second landfall in the U.S. early this morning. Since crashing into Florida as a Category 1 hurricane, Debbie has dumped more than a foot of rain over parts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina and has killed at least 6 people. 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Austria have been canceled after an alleged terror plot was discovered. Police say they've arrested 2 men in connection with a possible attack during the Eras Tour stops in Vienna. Vice President Kamala Harris and running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz held rallies in Wisconsin and Michigan to kick off their and Republican Senator J.D. Vance also on the campaign trail, following right behind the Harris campaign in those states. Vice presidential nominee took time to defend recent remarks of political opponents calling him weird. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. Much of the country's elementary, middle, and high school students are gearing up to return to their studies later this month or the beginning of next. The majority of their time, their teachers' time, and those who keep the buildings running will be spent inside thousands of school buildings. National Health reporter Aaron Billups takes a look at the health of those buildings and how it may be impacting the health of students and staff in a new Exploring Your Health report, Curing Our Classrooms.
The federal government doesn't really provide any funding at all for capital needs for schools, and the state of North Carolina, for example, has not issued a bond since the late 1990s.
We are underinvesting in our schools to the rate of $85 billion, 85% from 5 years ago. Every year that we delay on bringing our schools into a state of good repair, that tab is going to get larger.
Now, Aaron Billups joins me now. Why did you decide to take a look at this issue?
It was during the pandemic. We all started hearing about how easily germs spread in our school buildings. And then the question was why is this happening? We need better HVAC systems, and the air quality in most of our school buildings was pretty poor and still is for the most part. You know, some schools have upgraded their HVAC systems or put HEPA filters in the classroom, but these were like Band-Aid solutions. And, you know, in talking with the International Well Building Institute, they highlighted the fact that, you know, school buildings are the second largest infrastructure group in the United States. But unlike roads and transportation issues, which are generally dollars, schools' infrastructure issues are really left to localities.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You're right there. Does where you live make a difference on how healthy your schools are?
Absolutely, because if you are in a community that doesn't have extra dollars to give to make the schools healthier, then your school ends up not being as nice because it's usually tax dollars. So we talk about in North Carolina was one of the districts that we went to. And, they had to pass bond referendums, which is, you know, the community is saying, yes, we will allow you to tax us more so that you can improve the school building. But that's not a choice for many districts. And you see along racial and ethnic lines, there's disparities there in terms of, you know, Black and brown children tend to be in school districts with less resources, and so the school buildings are crumbling. And then you see more sickness in the school building, more absenteeism, and lower test scores. It's
a health component to this as well.
Yeah, so if you're going into a school building that's bright and beautiful and the air is clean, that makes you want to learn. And if the building on the other side is falling apart, paint chipping, you don't feel safe, that also affects your mental health. In North Carolina, one of the campuses we highlighted had about 9 school buildings. It's very spread out, this sort of bucolic college feel for a high school. But it also meant many entry points into the school. And so they're trying to consolidate the school buildings into just 3 buildings, and they have more control over who can come and go. And they saw a drop in the number of guns found on campus. Kids are feeling safer, test scores are up.
All right, Aaron Billups, thank you very much. And you can find Aaron's full report on Curing Our Classrooms under the Exploring Your Health tab on the Spectrum News app and on our website. Our experience at self-checkout machines could be changing soon, and why some retailers are pushing back against it.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't switch to Spectrum Enterprise.
Well, you said our services meet some of your technology needs.
But not all.
I have too many.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Look, I'm switching to Spectrum Enterprise because they'll be a true partner, and I can't run this network without one.
I think you can.
Our clients do it all the time.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
our back and forth, it always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out?
Do clouds take naps?
I can tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Good Thursday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. Flash flood watches stretch from the Carolinas all the way up into portions of upstate New York. And that's as the system begins to work its way into that area. They're going to be in effect through Friday night. And you'll notice the excessive rainfall outlook also shifting that moderate risk up through portions of Pennsylvania all the way through New York are associated with the system. Anywhere between 4 to 6 inches of rainfall could fall as a result of Debbie tracking into that area. We'll also have to watch for the threat for some severe thunderstorms like we've been seeing so far this morning across the Carolinas. Level 1 marginal risk, and wouldn't be surprised if this gets upgraded to a level 2 slight risk, as those quick spin up tornadoes are very common with landfalling systems, and places in the Northeast don't really see severe weather very often, but with landfalling systems, definitely heed those warnings and make sure you've got multiple ways of receiving weather alerts as well. So here we are Friday morning, right around 10:30. We're seeing that moisture from central and eastern Pennsylvania, going to be a messy commute across that part of the country. And then that moisture starts to pick up into New York as a line of thunderstorms develop along the trailing end of the system. It's going to be a post-tropical cyclone at this point, but it is going to still pack a punch with damaging winds and that flash flood concern as well. Heading into the overnight hours, early Saturday morning, still seeing that line of thunderstorms pushing through Boston up towards Maine, as will take shape for any outdoor plans this upcoming weekend across the Northeast. And it is still hurricane season. We're watching another tropical wave that's going to be tracking into the Caribbean islands as we head into the next 7 days. Still looks a little better organized, but we have lots of time to watch this. And if this does develop, it will receive the E name, which is going to be Ernesto. In other news, we're still dealing with more heat and humidity, especially along the Gulf Coast, where we have excessive heat warnings for parts of the panhandle of Florida, heat advisories for most of the Sunshine State, stretching through Louisiana, most of Texas, and southern Oklahoma as well. Going to be dangerously hot with temperatures reaching the triple digits, and of course feeling a lot hotter with those dew points in the upper 60s and the lower 70s. So temperatures today, 102 Oklahoma City, 105 in Dallas, 94 up in Portland, Oregon. Going to be pretty toasty across the West Coast later today, and still with relatively comfortable conditions across the Dakotas into the Great Lakes as well. So Austin, Texas, still going to be pretty hot the next couple of days, but your temperatures are going to be in the upper 90s and triple digits as we head into this upcoming weekend.
A new bill in California aims to fight retail theft by regulating the number of self-service checkout machines at grocery stores. And it's creating a stir among many in the retail industry. Our Jamie Kennedy has the details.
As someone who has worked in grocery stores for 61 years, Wally Wetter says he's seen many changes over the years. Certainly a big change, he says, is the self-service checkouts, a change he says he has embraced.
I use it every chance I get. It's faster for me. Very efficient. They're very well built, and if they're run correctly, they're worth their weight in gold.
He didn't work at this grocery store. Wally says he does feel, though, in any store, the machines are vulnerable to theft.
That's the one weak link about that. Unless it's being monitored, it's very easy for people to steal that.
The National Retail Federation says retail theft in the country cost retailers roughly $110 billion annually. Theft through the self-checkout machines, coupled with automation cutting retail staff jobs, are major reasons for a Senate bill aiming to regulate the number of machines staff monitor and limiting the number of items at self-service checkouts in grocery or drug stores. The bill is alarming, says Daniel Conway with the California Grocers Association.
Our employees are going to be the ones who have to explain the number of items
have restricts their ability to go through self-checkout. And so for us, we don't want our employees to have to enforce the law. We saw during COVID that it does not work. It often leads to disruptions and friction between our customers and employees.
Big box stores like Target and Walmart have already begun limiting items or taking machines away at certain locations for various reasons, including store choose what works best for them is the better path. But members of the United and Commercial Workers Union, who co-sponsored the bill, say less staffing due to the machines already creates a precarious situation, according to spokesperson Rachel Fournier, a grocery cashier herself.
It is so stressful to be trying to operate 8 machines at the same time and having the customers be like, miss, like, you're just like, you're ready to pull your hair out. It's horrible.
Wally agrees that people who work at the self-service checkout areas work hard and says he believes economics play a big part in retail theft.
We're in tough times right now, and when times are tough, people will steal. The tougher the times, the more they steal.
But for all the ups and downs, he says, of working in a grocery store, he wouldn't want to work anywhere else. Jamie Kennedy, Spectrum News.
And before we check out, remember you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthens our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished. Maybe challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."